Sports is in the game!
The State of the State address outlines some important issues that's facing our state while offering few solutions. However, we saw a budget address with lots of cuts to child care services, homeless youth services, after-school programs, and many other vital social service programs. Now, I understand that the governor has a tough task ahead of him, presenting a balanced budget, given the available revenue. So I applaud the governor in his efforts to expand employment opportunities for African Americans and minority communities, along with his efforts to expand education funding for K through 12. However, this budget is just merely the start of conversation. So I look forward to working closely with the governor in a bipartisan effort to address these serious cuts for the district. In the past, my general focus has been on improving neighborhoods, bringing jobs to the district, and addressing issues of public safety. I've also worked on business reforms. For example, I've worked on legislation to reduce the cost of opening a business here in Illinois. I've even advocated for schools and education. If you look at Senate Bill 16, it would have changed how Illinois distributes funds to schools. It brings money to low-income students, English language learners, and special ed students. We've also worked on initiatives like the Urban Flooding Awareness Act. It was an act created for municipalities and cities to access in the event that they were hit with a catastrophe and flooding. So it definitely helps communities in my district. I've also supported and advocated for House Bill 4584, which protected seniors from physical abuse. We had numerous issues throughout the state of seniors being abused in nursing homes and other senior assisted living areas, and this was a measure put in place to protect our most vulnerable. I believe in our communities, and I will continue to fight for legislation that would benefit our communities. As a small business owner, I understand that it's important to make sure that we have access to jobs, because that's what our district needs and that's what our community needs. So going forward, I look forward to continue my efforts to improve job creation, education, and small business climate here at home. Driving down unemployment has always been a high priority for me, and I'm looking forward to continue to work with local officials, the mayors, the Chamber of Commerce, and others to create jobs in our community. Finally, I'm planning some exciting events, so be on the lookout. Some open houses, some small business roundtables, just to name a few. These are some events that would definitely benefit the constituents of the district. So if you want to continue with the action and follow me, be on the lookout and follow me on my website at www.senatorharris.com. Or you can also follow me on Twitter or Facebook. My Twitter handle is Sen Harris, SenHarrisil, and the Facebook is Senator Napoleon B. Harris III. Looking forward to communicating with you. Illinois needs leadership. Illinois needs a senator that can articulate the values and the needs of all its citizens. The American dream has been hijacked. Closing schools, lack of investment in education, high cost of tuition for college. When women make 79 cents to the dollar to their male counterparts for doing the exact same job, we can do better. I had an opportunity to live my American dream. I went to a great university in Northwestern, had an opportunity to play in the National Football League, and then come back into my community and invest. But let's be clear. The American dream is not about winning the lottery, or not about professional sports, or being an entertainer. To most Americans, the American dream is about having the opportunity to afford a home, get a raise on your job, to start that business that you always wanted. I'm running for the United States Senate to make sure that every American and every Illinois has an opportunity to live their American dream, have an opportunity to get that job that they wanted, to have an opportunity to invest in their community, to have an opportunity to buy the home they always wanted. I'm running for the United States Senate to ensure that we restore the opportunity and the promise of America. I'm Napoleon Harris, and I approve this message. City Club, and to you, all of you who've come to assemble today to hear good old me. I'm excited. I'm excited because a young boy from Dixmoor, Illinois, now stands at the podium at the Chicago Club. And that's big. And that's big because I know of where I came from. So let me just, at this moment, since we're going to have, I would like to just have an intimate conversation about who I am, who Napoleon Harris is, and why I'm running for a United States Senate. Growing up as a young boy, I'm often reminded of the challenges that I faced in my life when I think about how hard my mother worked and the things that she instilled in me to be great. I remember like it was yesterday. She's calling me into the house and asked me one simple question. Who's the smartest in your classroom? And at the time I said, well, Tiana, Tiffany, because those young ladies were on the honor roll. They always answered the questions when the teacher said, raise your hand. And I was a little shy, a little didn't want to get involved in anything, but I knew the answers, but I didn't want to step forward. So my mom called me. She said, well, you're going to sit at this table, and we're going to work on you. And we're going to sit here until you become the smartest person in the class. So I saw my friends riding their bikes up and down the street, and I said, man, I want to have some fun. So maybe I need to be the smartest in the class. So the next time, I remember a few weeks later, she asked me. She said, who's the smartest in the class? And I said, of course, me, because I wanted to go outside and play. But what that did for me was that instilled a value in me of hard work and determination, because I knew that my mom had expectations that were higher than what I set for myself. So what that did for me, it really incentivized me with an opportunity to say, you can be great because my mother believed in. So by me telling my mother that I was the smartest in the class, I actually had to go out and demonstrate that. So I worked extremely hard in the classroom, and that carried over to me in everything that I did. I always maintained to say that I have to be the very best in all that I do. So I went to Thornton High School, that was mentioned, and then I went to Northwestern. You know, I used those same attributes that my mother taught me as a young boy, and I carried them throughout life. And my grandmother, she was a part of that solution. She said, young man, I need you to go to school, get an education, and don't forget where you come from. So I had an opportunity to play college football. Thank God, because my mother couldn't afford the education that Northwestern provided, or any other institution can provide, because we didn't have the resources in the community that I grew up in. And that was quite difficult, but I seen my mother struggle. I saw her work job after job to make sure that we had food on the table and clothes on our back. And that was my driving motivation. I wanted to make my mother proud. And to see that woman work so hard, that sometimes as she's coming in the house from working a late night job, my grandmother's getting me ready for school. And sometimes that was the only time I saw my mother, when we were crossing paths, because she was trying to provide a better opportunity for me. Got to Northwestern, and what can I say? A world-class education, world-class institution, and a world-class place for higher learning. For me, it was wonderful, because not only was I able to excel on the football field, but also in the classroom. When you get to college, and for a young man coming from the south side of Chicago, you become into this melting pot. You come from people from all different socioeconomic backgrounds, and you're able to learn from different heritages, learn from different races and different people. And that was exciting for me, because I had an opportunity to not only learn, but for others to learn from me as well. So I had a great experience academically at Northwestern. I went on to play professional sports from the Oakland Raiders. I was a first-round draft pick, played 7 wonderful years in the National Football League, and those things were great. And I really cherish those moments, because it helped me to develop as a leader. I've always considered myself a leader, but those times developed me as a leader. When I get to Oakland, I'm playing with superstars. I'm playing with Jerry Rice. I'm playing with Charles Woodson. I'm playing with future Hall of Famers, and yet they entrusted me to lead the team and to lead the defense in combat. And those things I will always cherish, the community that I was born and raised in, because I remember as a young man the lack thereof of opportunities, and the economic depression, the high unemployment, and the challenges that the community faced. And I wanted to be a part of the solution. So I came back home, and I invested in a community that has invested in me, created jobs and economic opportunities for those who needed it, and the community that I was born and raised in needed the resources to be successful. So someone will ask, well, why you, Mr. Harris? Why are you, this young man from the south side of Chicago, Northwestern graduate and former NFL linebacker, for United States Senate? Well, it's simple. People have lost trust in government. Right here in Illinois, we have one of the most corrupt systems that we've ever seen in our lifetime in government, and we lack leadership. Illinois needs a leader in the Senate, someone who can articulate the values and needs of all the constituents of Illinois, someone who understands all too well of the issues that we are facing, and not only in our state, but in our country. I'm fortunate and blessed to have lived my American dream, going to a great university, being a first-round draft pick, playing in the Super Bowl, doing something that every young man would want to do, be a professional athlete, and also opening up a business in the community in which I was born and raised. But let's be clear. The American dream is not winning the lottery. It's not being a professional athlete. It's not being an entertainer. The American dream is the opportunity for you to open the business that you always wanted, the opportunity for you to pay for a house that you always wanted, to pay for that mortgage, to put food on the table, to send your kid off to college, or better yet, to just live out your true potential of who you are as a person. That's the American dream. And as a state senator, I've advocated for these issues. I've fought to make sure that we have business practices here in the state of Illinois, that we can grow our economy, so that we can put a dent into this high wage inequality that we have. So we can get people to understand that we need business and government to work together to create the jobs, to invest in the community, so we can have successful communities all across our great state. These are issues that I'm passionate about. When you talk about business and jobs, I'm an employer. I'm a small business owner. I understand the risk and rewards of business. And hearing from some of you and talking to some of you business owners, I believe you understand as well. We want to ensure as government officials that we give all the tools that we can to businesses so they can continue to be the economic engines of our communities. Small business is what drives our economy. We need to ensure that small businesses are given every resource to continue to be successful, and we all need to work together. Right now in Chicago, we're dealing with a lot of issues, not just Chicago, but in our entire state. When you talk about our deplorable criminal justice system, we've seen the tapes. We've seen the marches, 16 shots. We've seen it across the country. Trayvon Martin, Rakita Boyd, Freddie Gray. The list goes on and on. This issue is all too important to me personally. As a young African-American male, I understand these issues better than anyone. Coming up in poverty. We fund education here under $6,119. And yet when we fail because we don't even meet the level that they set, and the level that we set, we prorated. Children are losers. We have to hold up our deal of the bargain as elected officials. When you talk about the rampant gun violence, and you talk about the homicides that's happened here in our city, the report was just released last night or this morning. Over 100 homicides here in Chicago at the start of this year. This issue is not political for me. It's personal. My brother-in-law was murdered 2.5 years ago to an act of gun violence here in Chicago. He wasn't a gang member. He wasn't in the wrong place at the wrong time. Someone decided that his life did not have the value that it did. We can do better. There's a number of things we can do passing comprehensive gun legislation. But let's be clear. Laws alone will not change the environment in which we live. It takes community leaders like you. It takes law enforcement. It takes victims of families of violence. It takes activists. It takes clergy. It takes all of us to help put our hands together and come up with a comprehensive plan to make sure that these acts of violence are no longer tolerated. It's passion. It's time to step up. We have too many critical issues that our country and our state is facing, and we need someone at the helm who understands them intricately. I'm someone who understands these issues all too well because I've lived them, I experienced them, and I vote for them now down in Springfield. I understand it all too well. Now is the time to have a steady hand on the ship to control and guide. Justice should always be our guide. And right now, if you think about the rhetoric that's been going on when you talk about national politics, you talk about the presidency, and even now in the Senate race, one of the most important things that's coming up is the appointment of a United States Supreme Court Justice. Right here, there's too many critical issues in which we know that needs to be settled as a Supreme Court, and we have the other side talking about not even taking it up. We talk about women's rights, talk about the constant repeal of the Affordable Care Act from the other side. When you talk about the Voters' Rights Act, when you talk about the attack on collective bargaining to make sure that we weaken the unions here in the country that we all love. America is great. America is great. And we need to maintain its greatness by living out our true essence of who we are as Americans. We talk about all these issues that people love and care about, but what are we going to do about it? I stated before, people have lost trust in government. People are tired of partisan politics. What can we agree on? What can we do to push the envelope to make sure that the citizens of Illinois and across this country are receiving their fair due? That's why I'm running for United States Senate, to restore the hope that a young man from the south side of Chicago, if given the opportunity, can get a great education. To restore the hope that if he's given the opportunity to get a great education, he understands that he's equipped with the tools to come back into his community and open up jobs and economic opportunities and employ others. To restore the hope that that business owner who've always wanted to open up that business will have access to capital and have the resources to be the entrepreneur that they always wanted to be. To restore the hope that every child in America has an opportunity to a fair and adequate education. When you talk about education in particular, think about the college debt. Think about what we do to our young men and women who we tell to go off to college and be the very best that they can be. Right here in the state, we've cut funding for these young men and women.